Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. This album review is on Microchip League's 1987 album called Code Numbers. This is the single for New York, the track New York, which is my favorite track on the album. I got a chance to find this band. I was listening to Pandora, and Pandora does a pretty good job of recommending other music that's similar. I've found some good stuff over the years, over the last 17 years of using Pandora, just on mistake because I don't play Pandora a lot. But if I'm cutting my hair, or I'm in the shower, or I'm falling asleep or something like that, I'll put on Pandora. And I Pandora, I usually, not every night, but probably one out of every 4 nights or so, I play one of my ambient music stations and sort of fall asleep to Pandora. And my EBM channel um, played New York by Microchip League probably about 10 or 15 years ago. And I was just like, what is this? And I was like, how have I never heard this track? And I looked them up and bought the single. And then, I never really checked them again after that, but I always really loved this track. So, I kind of was, when I was doing this channel, I was kind of like looking around like, okay, well, who am I going to review next? And I've been doing a lot of EBM stuff lately, and industrial, and I was like, oh, I need to do this album because I haven't heard the rest of the songs on the album. So, um, today, earlier this week was the first time I got a chance to actually hear the full album. Again, I don't own it; I just own the single. And if I don't know if I'll ever get around to buying the album. I don't know if it's good enough to buy. I mean, as much as I like, because I had the single. But if I didn't have the single, I would probably buy the album because it has the single. And the remix on here is worthwhile in having as well. But if I had the original, and I didn't have this version, and I had the rest of the album, I'd probably be happy with that as well. But yeah, this album came out in 1987. It's a mix of industrial, a little bit of EBM, and sort of maybe even an early sort of kind of raw electro sound in there, dance music. It's pretty, for the most part, it's pretty much instrumentals. I think there's like 2 tracks with lyrics on there. New York sort of has lyrics on there. That might be a third one, but there's a couple other tracks that have some in there. There's a little bit of sampling in here, but not too much. Probably equal to Frontline Assembly at the time, and a little bit of sampling, but not too much. Um, but it's a solid beat making for this album. I feel like I think it's above average band for only one for a band that only has one album and sort of disappeared. I kind of compare it to maybe like Manufacture, which I did, on my channel. I reviewed their album Terror Vision just a couple days ago. But probably a little bit better than Manufacture. I like this album a little bit better. This album is a little bit more raw, and for the good and the bad, because I do like Manufacture is recorded better. This is a little bit more raw recorded. But I think of the aggressiveness in this album is a little bit better than Manufacture, and so I personally like it just a little bit better than I like the Manufacture album as far as my rating. As far as maybe the opportunities on the album, maybe question marks on the album. A lot of the songs sort of sound the same, but it's not off-putting. It's just, if you're looking for more variety than what you would hear on the first song or two, you're not going to get that. It's pretty much the same style throughout. And I take that back. The last track, Shortwave Symphony, is kind of a unique um, kind of soundtracky, kind of more atmospheric. I think it's actually almost fully beat. Well, there might be a beat that sort of comes out of it at the end, but not. It is different than the rest of the album. So I will say that song is different than the rest of the album, and it's a really good sound too, especially if you're interested in early '80s electronics like synthwave and vaporwave and all those styles. Like check out Shortwave Symphony. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with that. It's kind of verging on it. It could be one of those tracks that a lot of this younger generation, they're like, oh, I love vaporwave. I'm gonna, I can see people imitating that sound, especially because it has wave in the track name, Shortwave Symphony. Like it's kind of a synthwave kind of classic on the down low. So shh, don't tell anybody. Try to keep it underground. Um, but I'm just joking there. But yeah, the rest of the album, the first track, Microchip League, 2.5 stars. Satellite, 2 3/4 stars. Stranger, I like a little bit better at 3 stars. New York's my favorite track. Um, the album version is a little bit more raw. It's around 458. The version I like is around like 540, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the one that always comes up on my Pandora station. And that's the first one that I heard. So it's only like 45 seconds longer, but I think it's a better version too. And I'm not sure if that's the 1988 version. Um, this is 1986, 87. But it's not the version on here. This has the dance floor cut and the double New York mix, which is 5 minutes and 7 seconds, and 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's not these versions either. It's the 5 minute and 45 second version. That mix is also different from the album version, but that's the mix to go to. But knowing that, and if this version isn't very far off, I give it 4 stars. Um, Communicate, which actually is the B side to this. These remixes are a little bit better on here. It has 3 different versions on here. These remixes are a little bit better than the album version. The album version is a Razor made mix. If you know Joseph Watt, he was a engineer slash editor. I don't even know if I can call him an engineer, but I mean, he was an editor that would edit a lot of tracks in the 80s and 90s and turn them into extended versions. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of like the little Latin rascals of synth pop and new wave and dance music too. He did a lot of dance music. So I have quite a bit of his edits, from his Razor made label in the series. I just, some of the edits he did were kind of off. But he was literally doing edits like I would have done edits back in 80. Like when I was doing some edits in like 87, 88, 89. Probably all the way up to maybe 91. Or even maybe 92. I was doing a lot of editing my own version. I probably have close to 200 tapes. 90-minute tapes full of new wave remixes that I did where they were just edits. Maybe I'll break those out someday. They're a little bit embarrassing, but that was my version of doing extended remixes when I was 11, 12, 13 years old. I still have a lot of them too, but I've lost them over the years. But yeah, Communicate I give 1.5 stars. It's my least favorite on here. Power Plant I like a little bit better, 2.5 stars. I give 3 stars, and then Shortwave Symphony I give 3 stars. So I add up the stars and I have 22.25 stars divided by 8, which is a solid 2.78. So I think that correlates to about a 66, 67, and I'm good with the 66 out of 100 for Code Numbers by Microchip League. So yeah, that's my review on the album. I would definitely compare it to like Manufacture or maybe a little bit of Frontline Assembly or maybe Colorbox a little bit too, but a little bit more industrial. Trying to think who else. There's a lot of bands in the late 80s, and I'm blanking on their name. They kind of sound like a dance version that sort of includes a little bit of industrial. I shouldn't say a little bit. It is kind of more industrial, kind of. I would say it kind of sounds a little bit like a little bit more of aggressive Cabaret Voltaire or maybe not as dark Clock DVA, stuff like that. Like it's kind of in that genre. This would have been fit really nicely on network records. If you know network records, any TTWERK records, this would have fit great on that label. But yeah, I'm just curious if you've heard this album, or if you haven't, check it out. Especially if you like EBM or industrial music, check out the track called New York by Microchip League. The 5 minute and 40 second version. That's the version to check. Or 5 minutes and 40 something. It's like 5:45 or 5:44 or something like that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and curious to know if you've heard this album or not, and what your opinions are. All right, thanks so much.